Now, I
Any
don't know.
divots?
Oh, it wasn't a good day on the golf course as far as my performance by any means, but I mean I was at least out on the golf course, and that's all that matters.
Indeed.
So, nonetheless, but we welcome you in. It's the Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Trying to see what's going on. I think we're trying to get this all situated here on the old YouTube. No, there we go. We're live.
YouTube.
We're live. Well, I clicked the wrong camera. See, now I'm on the right side on Chatterbox, and you're on the left side. But we'll the next pause in the action. Oh no! Now look, there's two of me. Look. That's just what our listeners need is two Jodys. I'm not really sure what's happening, but I'm going to let them deal with that because we're on the radio, so we'll get that figured out before they go live. But again, happy Tuesday. Welcome in. It's the Kinner and Kev show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, Chatterbox Sports. I think I hit the wrong side anyway, so that's not on them. That is on me as far as that's concerned. But again, we're off and rolling. We got a ton to get into today. Yesterday for the Dayton Flyers, we talked about the transfer portal being big for the Dayton Flyers, and it's just as big today for the Dayton Flyers as it was yesterday, just not for all the right reasons. We'll talk about that coming up around the corner. But I have one thing I have to complain about when it comes to the portal here in a little bit, and I'll tell you what it is here shortly. But it's not about players moving all around. I don't care. It is what it is. It sucks when it's players on the teams that you follow.
Right.
I don't care, but there's something the players need to stop doing, and I'll tell you what that is coming up here in just a little bit. But nonetheless, so we'll get into that. Let's see what else. The NBA play-in tournament tips off tonight. We'll get into that. Do the playoffs start tonight?
No.
Okay, you are. I was trying to catch you. Damn it.
This is the play-in. Playoffs start on Saturday.
Okay, you did good. You passed the test. I was waiting. You did. I was waiting for it to do. I was ready to do the whole. Because for the NCAA tournament, you say the tournament don't tip off till Thursday. The first, the
first four is the tournament.
Okay.
First four is the tournament. Wright State has a victory in the tournament.
Okay, thank you.
Raider up, baby.
But some people, so that wasn't you. I was testing the wrong person. Oh, well. But nonetheless. But, yeah, so the NBA play-in tournament tips off tonight. What else do we have in store? Yeah, so last week I was off when the news about the Browns and Nick Chubb, they got that reworked deal with him done. Someone complained because I haven't talked about that yet, and I'm like, okay, fine, we'll get to that coming up here in a moment. So we got a lot in store. The Reds lose last night against the Mariners. The West Coast trip has always been something that has been the Reds' biggest or one of their tougher opponents, no doubt about it. So we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. And, one thing I was listening to Off the Bench a little bit ago. With Trace and Elliott and Casey and those guys. And, the one thing that they say, and we hear this a lot in baseball, is, well, it's a long season. It's a long season. And it is a long season.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, at what point of the season is it when you could finally start to say, okay, there's enough of a pattern that you can be happy about or concerned about? And we're not there. We're not anywhere where we should be concerned yet, but are we somewhere where we could be feeling confident about it if you're a Reds fan? We'll get to that coming up around the corner. But let's hit the music, and let's take a dive into kind of what's trending in the world of sports as we currently sit here right now. Again, we welcome you in. It's the Kinner and Kev show. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. I did not set him up properly earlier. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
All right. What's trending? How about this? On the hardwood, Texas and Ohio State will meet in a neutral site game at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on November 4th to open the 2024-25 college basketball season. The reason I think this is a big deal is because I love college basketball season when it tips off, but a lot of these college basketball programs, they'll tip the season off with a couple bye games, to kind of beat up on them a little bit before. Now, basketball is better than football because they do challenge themselves earlier in the non-con. I'll give them that. But I do like to see that Ohio State and Texas are tipping the season off against one another. Neutral site game, but nonetheless, Texas-Ohio State to tip off the 2024 college hoop season for your Ohio State Buckeyes.
My brother lives in Las Vegas, and he was bragging because he's going to that game. That's the first thing that happened because he's the first person that told me about it. He sent it to me before anybody else. I'm going to this game, this Ohio State game. Versus and then immediately I was like, Ohio State, Texas, wait, we're playing? Oh, basketball. I was like, okay, that'll do. That'll hold us over. But you're right about college basketball in general. You may get a game here, a game there with some heavyweight powers playing earlier in the season, and then you get your your Maui Invitationals and whatever tournaments down there, the Battle of Atlanta. So you get like some of that, some coaches versus cancer up there in New York, stuff like that. Then they'll get into, them playing the Little Sisters of the Poor, then them playing Kenner and Kev University before they get to conference play. So anytime you get quality non-conference matchups early in the season, it gets the juices flowing for college basketball. So I'm here for it.
And I like this matchup. It's an interesting one to tip off next basketball season because, when you look at, Texas, Rodney Terry, the head coach for Texas, the way he took over that program is very similar to how Jake Diebler has taken over this program for Ohio State. You had Chris Beard, who had the off-the-court allegations that led to his firing at Texas. Rodney Terry takes over, and Texas continues winning and getting to the NCAA tournament and making a run and ultimately wins over the fan base and gets the job. And that's kind of what we saw with Jake Diebler taking over. No one thought Terry was going to get the job. They thought they were going to have to go big for a big name. They didn't have to do that. Texas was very good this year and, seems to be trending in the right direction. Jake Diebler taking over in very similar fashion. Not controversial exit for Chris Holtmann, but an exit with games remaining. And the team continued to fight and play hard for Diebler. So I do like that matchup nonetheless. Spring game attendance.
Oh, boy.
You helped this. But Ohio State so far has killed it. They've had the highest spring game attendance of any other college out there. Ohio State, 80,000 fans attended the spring game this past weekend. Alabama coming in second with 72. Penn State, 67. Georgia, 55. Come on, Georgia, step it up. Florida, 48. Virginia Tech, 20. Tennessee with 10,000 fans showing up to their spring game. How many do you think showed up to Miami?
Miami University or Miami of Ohio?
Miami University.
Probably about 2,000.
Man, what you doubled it for some reason.
Really?
Only 1,000 fans showed up to the spring game for Miami. Now, do people in Miami care about spring as much as we do?
Probably not.
Probably not.
It's spring all the time.
It's spring all the time. So, spring is just we can go outside and watch something that's, but that doesn't surprise me.
So with spring football, it's all about hype. It's about how the fan base feels about their team going into the following season. There's no mystery why over 80,000 people decided to show up to Columbus past Saturday that I got stuck in traffic in, because there's a lot of guys returning for the Buckeyes. We got a ton of guys in the transfer portal. We got a new offensive coordinator. So the feels are there. Look at Alabama. They got a whole new coaching staff down there. Their feels are there. Like, hey, man, this is our first chance to get to see what the new Alabama Crimson Tide.
Hey everyone, I know that you're listening to Kenner and Kev right now, and you're hoping for some wonderful content. We just we didn't get all the way ready before they were able to go live on the radio. So just give me a second while I fix the audio. They have to do some stuff on their side of the aisle to flip it to the radio audio, which is what you guys listen to, and then I think they've got the cameras figured out. So just give me a second, and I'll get it worked out.
Nick Saban will officially make his ESPN debut during the NFL Draft next week. He'll join the College Game Day crew along with Field Yates as part of ABC's coverage beginning on April 25th.
Awesome. I'm here for it. I mean, you get one of the best college football coaches of all time to give his opinion about a whole bunch of guys. Obviously, he's going to have a lot to say about the guys that he coached, but every player that was in the SEC gets the most guys drafted, so there's going to be a ton of insight from Coach Saban. So I'm definitely here for it. And question for you, which broadcast do you watch? Do you watch the ESPN broadcast? Do you watch the ABC broadcast? Do you watch NFL Network? Which one do you like?
I don't watch NFL Network. Which one do I watch? What's the difference?
So the
ABC is the college ones, right?
Yes.
So I watch whoever the college broadcasters are. But then later in the draft, it just becomes who's who. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like to watch the college. I think for college or for the NBA too. We should be hearing more about the college analysts should be in charge of the draft coverage. I have no problem with them overlapping it, to be honest, and that's kind of what they're doing. That's why I like the Saban addition to this as well.
Yeah, I lock in on the college one more. because I'm a college football fan first over the NFL. Not to say I don't love the NFL as well, but, I lock in on that, and I want to see, like, all right, where are the guys one guy that I saw that one time, where's he going to go? I want to see what they talk about, this backup guy on Ohio State that's still going to get drafted because he's still highly touted. So, yeah, I'll lock in on the college one more.
It's a Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I believe, we're up and rocking on YouTube, by the way, on the Chatterbox. So head to YouTube. And check the show out on the Chatterbox Sports YouTube channel. So make sure you search that, look that up. That's where we are live every day from 3 to 5 right here. Not just 3 to 6 on 1410 ESPN Radio, but you can watch the show on Chatterbox and, of course, the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. So make sure you go and take advantage of that, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel as well. So multiple ways to take the show in. We kick off the show today with what's trending, continuing to go down the list. Let's see what else caught my attention. How about this? So the NBA play-in tournament tips off tonight, but the regular season's wrapped up, I should say. And the Clippers, well, they picked up the tab on the concessions during their final regular season home game at Crypto Arena. Their owner is, one of the fan favorite owners out there nonetheless. But it wasn't announced before the game. It was just in the middle of the game. They announced that, hey, head to the concessions. The tab is covered, so there you go. But he bought out all the concession stands too, so they didn't waste any of the food or anything like that. Thought that was pretty cool. They put a limitation on how much drinks you can get. It wasn't alcohol. I don't think it was free alcohol, but all the popcorn, the nachos, the dogs, and all that stuff. Thought that was a pretty cool gesture by ownership there.
Absolutely, that's very cool. I mean, you're wrapping up your time at the Crypto. The Clippers are going to be getting their own arena in the very near future. So, that's very cool of the ownership to do for the fans. I mean, the fans that are showing up for all these games at home, and especially at the back half of the season when you're like the Clippers, you're kind of locked into, I think, what they were locked into, the 4 or 5 slot or whatever. So you're not getting your Kawhis and PGs and the big time guys that you paid a lot of money to come see. But hey, at least you can get some free hot dogs and popcorn.
Well, no kidding. I feel like if you're the Castellinis or Mike Brown, how many games into the season before you're eating food from that year and not the leftover food from last year? When you go to GABP, are we getting hot dog buns that expired in September or that were sitting in there in September last year? It's a joke. Relax. I don't need the Reds getting mad at me. Of course they buy new hot dog buns.
Every year.
Every year.
Every
year.
Enjoy
a Conn's hot dog, as they say. Darren Rovell says that in 1 hour during last night's WNBA draft, okay, so Caitlin Clark, it surprised everyone. She was the number 1 pick. I don't know if you've heard of her, but Caitlin Clark was the number 1 overall pick in last night's WNBA draft. But from the hour after it was announced that she was going to the Indiana Fever, they sold out of all of her jerseys.
Not surprised at all.
It's never happened in the WNBA draft before, where a jersey sold out in that very first night. So pretty cool.
Shouts out to her. And so for people that just think she is just strictly basketball and she's not a personality. You saw some of her personality come out last night during the draft, not only during her interviews and everything like that, but, the orange carpet, as they call it at the WNBA draft. I believe that style and fashion is a part of expression, so she came in there Prada down. She came with a Prada leather jacket situation, skirt, the Prada glasses, some Prada shoes, so she was out there representing. She was swaggy.
But, so going to the Fever. Nonetheless.
Very close to us.
All right, so Kobe Bryant enters the transfer portal. Kobe Bryant enters the transfer portal. Now, some misunderstood my tweet last night and think that I was attacking Kobe Bryant. I was not attacking Kobe Bryant. I've had enough with players not entering the portal, but I don't want to be worked. Don't tell me how great your school is and how great your teammates are and how great your coaches are and how hot the women are on campus. Don't tell me about how great everybody is and then end it with, on the other hand, I got to go. And all this stuff. I'm tired of the farewell letters. We're going to talk about this when we come back. We're talking
about
that
decision, man.
Respect my. And then the ultimate gatekeeper, they put God in it. When you put God has asked me to do this, the Kinners of the world can't say anything because who am I to argue with God? I feel pretty confident in doing it when we get back, though. It's a Kinner and Kev show, 14-10. I'm just joking, God. We're good. We're good.
JC,
we're good.
It's him, not me.
If God doesn't have a sense of humor, then we're all in trouble. Let's just be real. We'll be right back. But, yes, this was a big hit for the Dayton Flyers. And the farewell, if I would have just read the headline of Kobe Bryant enters the portal, That stinks. Whatever. But then the letter, it questions your intelligence as sports fans, and I do not like it. It's not a Kobe Bryant problem. It's all athletes are a problem right now when it comes to the portal, and it's not entering the portal that I have a problem with. We'll be right back. And we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. As a 17-year-old from New York City, being accepted onto the grounds of the University of Dayton, I was greeted by a community whose embrace felt like home, a warmth that will stay with me forever. Through the highs and lows, the victories and defeats, Dayton became more than just a place, more than a university, more than a team. It became part of who I am. To the coaches, to the staff, to the teammates, managers, and academic community, your guidance and support have shaped me in ways I can never fully express, but my appreciation will never waver. And to Flyer Nation, your constant love and encouragement has lifted me up in countless occasions, turning moments into memories I'll forever cherish. With that, it is with a heavy heart, so heavy, that I have made the decision to enter the transfer portal. It's a choice born of deep reflection and prayer, filled with the uncertainty but also excitement for the journey ahead. But no matter where life takes me, my bond with Dayton, with Flyer Nation, will remain unbreakable. I'm a Flyer forever. Kobe Bryant. That's a very long-winded way of saying, hey, I'm going to go get more money somewhere else. Like, you could have saved us a lot of time by just saying, hey, I got more money. That's the only, to me, Kev, the only acceptable player statement when entering the portal is, hey, I got offered more money to go play over here. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I love what I do. I love working with Kev every day. All right. But the second another radio station is dumb enough to offer me more money, I'm getting the hell out of here. Okay. Let's just be clear. That's not a secret. And the same goes for, well, maybe.
Alexa,
yeah.
What's the weather in Orlando? Actually, we got some pretty good weather here at the DYT right now. So
we're far enough removed from now. He picked Dayton over Orlando, folks. But so he's an outlier. That's besides the point. But like, I don't like the thing is like when these players do this, and I love my teammates, love my coaches, love the community, the fan base is great, the academics, it's awesome. I love my classmates. The women on campus, they're hot as hell. Then what's the problem? Oh, it's the money. And now guess what? We go from not being relatable at all to very relatable. Okay, cool. I respect that. Thank you for everything you did. Now go get that money. It's as simple as that. But don't do the whole, oh man, God's asking me to do this thing. Please stop doing that. Don't do that. He may very well be. Who am I to sit here and say he isn't? But there's only one acceptable player response or statement. Okay, you could soup it up with Photoshop however you want. You could put your signature on there, whatever. Bottom line is just go get that money and don't insult the intelligence of the fans who you're basically walking out on. And you could say that you're not, but you are, and that's okay because it happens every day in life. Coaches walk out on players. When we say coaches walk out on players and fan bases and things that are going well, players do it too. It's an equal playing field as far as everyone walking out on one another, and everyone's doing it for the same reasons now, and that's money, and that's okay. But that's the only explanation for which I, Justin Kinner, will sit here and say, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. But anything else, I'm going to mock like I just did. Sorry, that's where we're different. I get that. And you're going to handle it different, and that's why it's a good balance on the show. But, man, that's a long-winded, 3-paragraph lame response that is basically just, I got more money over here, and I could not be more jealous. Happy for him. So, there you go.
So, I'll start by saying you are more connected to the program than I am. So, you may know things that I don't know. From that statement, I don't get that he's saying, hey, I got offered more money. It could be a litany of different things on why he's choosing to leave. It could be, like you said, somebody could have offered him more money. Or, hey, man, look, man, I've been here for 4 years. This was my best season that I ever had. And shoot, not only my personal best season, the best season we had as a team since I've been here, but I've just seen other teams across the country make it deep into the tournament. Like, hey, man, we were lucky to be an at-large team. Like, I want to be in a situation where, hey, man, I don't have to worry about it. I want to be in a situation that, hey, I'm competing to win the national championship. Like, a first-round win shouldn't be like, oh, man, yeah, we did it. Like, a first-round win for a team like a UConn, a Tennessee is like, hey, man, duh, of course we were going to win. That could be a reasoning. Another reasoning it could be like kind of how you talked about a lot on the show is the pace of play for the team. Like, maybe he's like, hey, man, I'm not getting up enough shots. I averaged 11 points a game. I was the best three-point shooter in the country, shooting 50% from downtown. Okay, I shot about 4 a game. What if I shot 8 to 10 threes a game? What's that going to do for my pro potential? What's that going to do? Not only, hey, the NBA, I know everybody hears pro and they automatically think NBA, but there's other leagues that pay a lot of money for dudes to play basketball, and they're overseas. So those could be reasons Kobe's deciding not to come back to the Flyers. For me, this is beyond a gut punch to the basketball team. I know whatever Deron Holmes decides to do is going to be the biggest news around the city if he decides to come back or go pro. But he was very good and very good with that team. Him and Santos, like elite knockdown shooters to allow your big man always to operate on a one-on-one because you can't lead those dudes. And when they did double him, they were able to kick it out and swing it around till you got to him to knock down the three-pointer. Like I said yesterday, I would love to see him with the ball in his hands more. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's like, hey, man, I'm kind of like sick of, standing on the wing waiting for the ball to come to me. I want to be a playmaker. So it could be a litany of things. As far as the letter is concerned, I mean, if he's decided like that will end it with I'm going pro versus I'm entering the transfer portal, would you have different feelings?
No, I going pro, like, that's different to me.
Okay.
That's different to me. And I like being a stubborn pain in the ass, but you are right. There could be other reasons than just the money. So
it has to be. It has to be a litany because, like, you know that, like, the Flyer players are very well compensated.
But apparently, now when you have their NIL begging 7-year-old children to give back the card, like, I don't know who that 7-year-old kid is. I blame him. You guys know who I'm talking about? Remember last week? Remember the Dayton Flyer Collective, the Dayton Sixth or whatever? They were trying to guilt that family who got that one-of-one Deron Holmes trading card. And it's pretty rare. It's pretty valuable. And that family spent some good money to get that card. And then the Dayton Sixth tried to do that, like, guilt trip to, like, oh, man, what say you, Flyer fans? How about they donate it back so we can.
You want it back in circulation?
So what I think happened is I think that selfish kid, and I'm joking, by the way. I don't know that family, and I don't know what they did with the card. But bottom line is, I bet you that 7-year-old kid was selfish and decided to keep it. And now the Flyer program is broke. And they have no money thanks to that selfish family who kept that one-of-one trading card that they paid good money for the first time. So, I blame that family. I don't know who they are. Find them, tag them, say, hey, it's your fault that they lost Kobe Bryant. But, social media had a meltdown last night.
I don't blame them.
As they did.
I don't blame them.
And from a lot of different things. Some are handling it well, saying, hey, I hate to see him go, but pulling for you wherever you go. Once a Flyer, always a Flyer, all that stuff. I do think that in today's era of college athletics, we can no longer say once that. Now, to be fair, he's been here for, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
He played a while, all that stuff. Okay, cool. I'll give Brea that. I'm not anti-Brea in this situation. I think that, right now, I heard Jay Billis, or I forgot who I was listening to earlier. We're talking about it. They say, college basketball has been dominated by bigs for so long. But there's a lot of bigs, and there's a lot of guards who could take you off the dribble and can score. But right now, the quarterback of college basketball is the three-point shooter. If you could shoot the three, you are more valuable than any big that's out there. And that's what makes Kobe Bryant so valuable at this point. So I think that, I don't think Dayton could afford it. I think he's going to make more wherever else he goes, whether it's a UConn, and there's people throwing that out there. Ohio State, some others are being thrown out there. Teams with dominant bigs. I mean, you look at Ohio State; they need 3-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You look at they just got the Bradshaw, the big from Kentucky.
Yeah.
All right, they have Okpara, 7-footer. They have the kid from St. Mary's. A couple hours north from here, that's a 7-footer almost. So, like, they have a lot of bigs. They have good guards. They need some shooters. So who knows what's going to happen there? So you are right. It could be. I think it could be a combination of both.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is where fans also have to sit back and say, okay, well, if it's not the money, then what are we the program doing that's leading to that? It could be that archaic offensive style that I've been complaining about forever. You're right, the slow, boring pace of basketball that doesn't suit his style. That his style of play should be showcased in a much faster style of offense, and you can maximize and get more out of him in that regard. But no, had fun with this. I don't like, so right here, Michael Carnage on YouTube, on the Chatterbox YouTube says, okay, those letters are straight up Dear John letters. We're getting we're getting broken up with. They just need to throw in, it's not you, it's me. It's exactly what it is. It's not you, it's me, as far as that's concerned. Nate on YouTube says, no Deron Holmes news yet. This Brea news will Oh, okay, good. There's more to it. I thought he said something else. He said, no Deron Holmes news yet. The Brea news will blow over easy if Deron somehow comes back, over the NBA.
Man, I think people are not realizing how valuable Kobe was to that team.
I think this hurts the chances of Deron coming back.
1,000,000%.
I
in my
thought
opinion.
yesterday we talked about it. I felt there was a good chance Deron could still come back, being projected at pick number 56, a second-round pick. A lot of prognosticators out there saying this is like the second worst NBA draft in history. So if you're getting a second-round draft grade in what many are deeming the second worst NBA draft in history, you're not being viewed at as very good in NBA circles. And that's no shot at Deron. That is just the reality of it. That is not Kinner's thinking. That is just, I'd be saying that about anyone that's getting a late second round grade. I'd be like, you're probably not going to not make it, but like you're not being viewed at by the right people as being capable of doing it. So that's a big time gamble to where you can come back to college, make that money. But also at the same time, you need to have the pieces around you to help you be dominant. And Brea was the best chance at Deron coming back to be dominant. Now, the portal, they have more positions to fill. They could still plug those holes, but that's a big blow.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at some of the schools that have already reached out to Kobe. This comes from Jamie Shaw. He's a recruiter. Analysis from On 3.
Okay, good.
Kansas, UConn, Duke, Indiana, Arkansas, Louisville, Oregon, Penn State, Mississippi State, Miami, Illinois, Texas Tech, Arizona, Texas A&M, Xavier, St. John's, and Virginia Tech so far.
Those are the teams looking at Brea.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Dayton, this is – people talk all the time about getting out of the A-10, getting to the Big East, getting to – now this needs to signify that more than ever. Years ago when Archie left, I said sometimes you got to look at when the players and coaches leave, what are they telling you? Not what your AD tells you are, not what your fans tell you are. What are the pieces that matter the most tell you are? And this isn't a shot. This is the reality of it. Dayton, people get mad all the time and say they're a mid-major program, but they are until they get into a high-major conference. The A-10 is not a high-major conference. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, a conference that gets two teams to the tournament is not a high-major league.
And the second team they got in is because, the only at-large team in the conference didn't win in the A-10 tournament, which basically snuck a team in. It was a bid stealer situation. Not a shot. We're talking real here. I'm not in a trolling mood this second. So let's just let's just relax. So what I'm telling you is, if you look at some of the things that have happened over the years, when Archie left, okay, their athletic director, Neil Sullivan, said that they were prepared to make him a top 10 compensated coach in college basketball. Archie Miller would have been one of the top 10 highest paid college basketball coaches in all of college basketball at Dayton in the A-10, and he still left. Why? Because he felt, I can't do what I need to, what I ultimately, now Archie obviously it hasn't panned out, but Archie looked at as, man, for me to consider, like, I don't want getting to the Elite Eight to be a Cinderella run. I want to getting to the Elite Eight to be the expectation.
Right.
Getting to the Elite Eight is not a Dayton Flyers expectation. That's a wish. That's a want. That's a Cinderella type of run that this city gravitates and supports. But like he wanted to go to a program where that was the expectation and where that could be realistically accomplished on the regular. That's why Indiana made a lot of sense. Obviously, Indiana's still struggling, but the bottom line is that's a program that realistically you can get it done there. So he was telling you something there that, hey, the fan base is great. The millions of dollars pumped into this program, it's fantastic. But ultimately, we can't get done what I ultimately want to accomplish here. So he left. And this is another situation where I feel like a player leaving is telling you kind of the same thing. Now, it's great that Deron Holmes had the faith in the program to come back another year. It's great that Obi had the faith and the confidence in the program to come back that second year after and all that stuff. But you can't ignore these types of things because I do think that right now it's not just what Kobe Brea is telling the Flyers. It's what the rest of college basketball is telling the Flyers. We're watching, and the Dayton Sixth, as much as I've had fun with that last week, they're doing everything in their power to raise every single tiny penny that they can to compete with every major collective out there. And it's not enough. And it's not that they're doing a bad job. It's just that the Dayton community that supports this program, Kentucky's just bigger and better. And Duke is bigger and better. And like these fan bases and the resources. And, we talked about, the NBA guys over the last couple of years. There's a couple NBA guys roaming the courts right now. But you got to look at all these bigger programs that have NBA guys running all over the place. There's a ton of money that could be dumped back into the program that the NIL funds are just, building and building. Dayton just doesn't have that. And that's not going to, they have to get to a bigger conference. They have to get the bigger TV deals. They have to get all these things. Dayton has to get out of the A-10. And this isn't the sky is falling. They can end up landing a player or two in the portal, and all will be right in the world again.
Right.
But this is alarming. This is alarming, and it could, like I said, if Duran was willing to come back, I think this impacts that to a certain extent.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at, the potential destinations. Obviously, everybody's going to connect the dots and put him with UConn. I mean, UConn is losing their backcourt, their starting backcourt. Those guys were not down three-point shooters. Maybe it's a plug-and-play situation with him at UConn. Maybe Arizona go out there and play with Caleb Love. Caleb Love announced he's putting his name into the NBA draft situation, but still going to remain eligible. Maybe he goes out to Arizona to play with him. I mean, you can never count out of what's going on at Arkansas with Coach Cal. I obviously I'm thinking UConn, but I mean, the list is going to grow. It's not just going to stop here. I mean, shoot, you can never count out Rick Pitino. I mean, he's at St. John's now. He's from New York. Maybe he wants to go home, play at Madison Square Garden on a nightly basis. It's the Big East. So, yeah, man, the world is his oyster, man, because these listed teams that are calling right now, that ain't it. The list is going to continue to grow. This was put out 2 hours ago. So, who knows how many coaches have already reached out to him.
And that was he entered the portal last night.
Goodness gracious.
And good for these coaches for waiting until he entered the portal to talk to him. Very stand-up guys.
So just like everybody else out there in the world, when I get up in the morning, I don't greet my wife with a hug and a kiss. I grab my phone and see what I missed while I was asleep.
Waiting to see when you were finished. I was like, what are you grabbing, Kev?
Hey, it is Tuesday. No, but I saw that and I was like, uh-oh. That ain't good. And then I was like, wait, when did this come out? And it was like 8 hours ago. And I started doing the math like, wait, we were just talking about him on the show yesterday. Did he announce that while we were on the show? It's like, no. So it didn't add up as when the news broke. But, yeah, man, to each his own, man. I mean, I would have loved for him to come back, him and Duran, run it back together. Maybe they go grab, an elite level point guard to come with them out of the transfer portal to really take that offense to the next level. But like you said, I don't think this is good news, not only just obviously for the Flyers with him leaving, but you got to think what's Duran thinking? Hey man, that was one of my guys on the team. What are we going to do, coach? Who else we going to get? I mean, that's great. We got Zed help me out on the defensive end, but I'm gonna need some shooters around me. I'm gonna need somebody to get me the ball. What are we doing, coach? So
yep.
Questions.
We'll see what happens nonetheless. But Drew Garrison says, I heard Kinner is UD's biggest booster. I don't know about that one. I do not know about that one. Drew also says, good afternoon to everyone but Browns, Steelers, and Buckeyes fans. Man, that just knocks out, all of us. Me, you, and me and you twice.
Right.
As far as that's concerned. So Nate says, although if Duran does transfer instead of the NBA, I'll be sick. Woo. As far as that's concerned. So,
man, the team that I follow in college basketball, the closest, Syracuse, our big man is got a visit scheduled with Duke. So yeah, that's awesome. You leave my team to go to Duke.
What's worse though? So if Brea leaves Dayton to go to a UConn or a Duke or a bigger program, that stinks. But you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what stinks is when you lose really good players and they just make a lateral move. That's more disrespectful to your program, right? That's hey, we're on because we're talking about how, man, Dayton, they need and by the way, you move up to a bigger conference doesn't mean you won't lose players. You'll lose players, but you'll have a better shot.
Yeah, everybody's losing players every year in today's landscape. But yeah, I think you're right. When guys make a lateral move, I won't say it's a direct shot at the school, but it's a direct shot at their experience on the program.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? When you take guys and you quote unquote level up, look, there you can understand hey man, I'm trying to put myself in a better position. I'm trying to show and prove that, hey man, I can play on this level. So you really don't knock them for that. But you're right. If a guy goes hey man, I'm literally going to the same level type of school, it's a kick down low. Or even when a guy goes down a level, I don't knock them there. They kind of realize their skill set and what's gonna better fit them to advance their basketball career. So it's that lateral move that come on, bro. At least went to UConn. At least.
So we're on the Chatterbox YouTube channel as well, but also the show is being simulcasted on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Brian Fraley, he messages into the show. On the Facebook feed, you can see the messages pop up on the screen. I don't think you can't on the YouTube side, but on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, you could see the messages pop up. Brian Fraley says, I understand him leaving. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Wish him the best. That is the most level-headed response you can have. I was making a point, like those little Dear John letters that all the players write. That wasn't me attacking Kobe Bryant, but that was me using his as an example of like, there's like a template out there that everyone uses. Like it drives me crazy. Like just, I don't know. Like
no announcement. If Kenner was in this situation, Kenner is a 12-point a game scorer, knocking down 50% from 3-point land. You're getting calls left and right about, hey man, we got some coins for you here. How are you making the announcement that you're hitting the portal?
You'll find out when I leave here. They're going to give me a bigger studio. They're going to give me an actual budget. They're going to give me this. They're going to give me that. That's why I'm leaving. And, oh, yeah, more money. Hey, but Kev, love you, man. Andy, you the man. Appreciate you, Clay. All that type of stuff.
It's been real.
Yeah. That's the realest exit you could possibly have. Like, but this, man, Kev's awesome. My bosses are great. This building is amazing. We have the biggest budget in the world. I've never needed anything here because I have everything I've ever wanted. But with that being said, I'm leaving. What? That doesn't make any sense.
You forgot the key part. Respect my decision.
But apparently God's given me all of this, but God said, I giveth and now I taketh away. You need to go somewhere else. Like that's the thing. But when you put God in it, it's a real, it trumps everything. You can't argue with it.
If I was ever in that position, I would simply post something on my Instagram, either the money sign or the deuces.
Fair.
It's been real. Deuces.
Drew says, take me with you, Kenner. I almost quit my job 4 times today. Only 4? Got you beat.
Where do you work?
Yeah, I was going to say. Let's see what else. Doug Toby says, how'd that work for Archie? It doesn't matter. Archie earned the right to leave. These kids have earned the right to leave, too. I'm not, but, people act like, oh, Archie, I bet you he regrets leaving. No, I don't. I think he regrets that it didn't work at Indiana. I don't think he regrets leaving. If you know what I mean, I'm not saying he didn't miss his time here, but I don't think Archie regrets leaving Dayton. I think he regrets that it didn't work at Indiana.
We got to get the days of the Bobby Bowdens and Joe Paul staying at one school until, they basically pass away. Those days are over, man. I was actually reading something on CNN.com, and they were talking about, the job market and the average amount of jobs that somebody that's currently graduated from college, they said they're going to have over 11 different jobs during their lifetime.
Yeah.
You tell that to, our parents or even our grandparents, they've worked the same job until it was over. They got a job and that's it. But the new generation of people, they job hop and they don't have that quote unquote fear about leaving. How many people do younger than us that graduate from college and hey, they don't take a job locally and all right, I'm gonna take a job and then I'm gonna move. These people nowadays, as soon as they graduate, they're out. Hey man, I don't have a dime in my pocket, I'm moving to California, just with no plan at all. So they don't have that fear. So us as society and older people need to realize hey man, this is just how it's going now, man. People don't have that inkling of loyalty to a company or loyalty to the area. Oh man, this is my hometown, this is where I wanted to stay forever. They want to see the world, so I don't knock them for it.
Yeah, and right now it's important to have a job that pays well. I just saw the gas. Someone just sent a note. Hey, you saw gas went up to $3.75 at Speedway on Dorothy. So,
yeah, I saw that this morning.
What the heck? There was one gas station I passed on the way back from the golf course today that one was $3.75 and one was $3.19. And I'm really questioning the two people that were at the $3.75. Maybe they just didn't see. I don't know. Kenner and Cap, 1410, ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports. We'll be right back. And we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Chad Kinser on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page says, can't have fear of leaving a job. The employer has no fear of replacing you with no warning. And the same thing goes for athletics.
Amen to that.
So, it is what it is. Roger, I'm assuming his name is, so that was on the Facebook page. So on YouTube, I don't know why Roger is talking in all capital letters.
He's yelling.
He is. He says, Ballmer is the richest owner in the league in all capital letters. That's cool. But then I made him mad. Then he said, I thought this was a Dayton safe space. I thought we were all adults. I didn't know we needed a safe space. Let me be clear. What do we say that this isn't a safe space? Like, this isn't a good thing that Brea left, and there's multiple ways to dissect how he left and the impact of which he left and the impact of what this means for college athletics in general. Brea hasn't impacted college athletics across the board, but he is every team is experiencing this, and this is probably one of the harder ones. Last year I thought Dayton, the players that they lost, like losing Sherjamps and losing like some guys like that was a big deal. But keeping Deron Holmes was such a big deal. Yeah. That it overshadowed the guys that left, and ultimately ended up working out. Look, they got back. Finally got to the NCAA tournament. They won an NCAA tournament game. So, a year ago at this time, things weren't well. Even Deron coming back, there was still some doubt. I mean, you were getting the big man from Buffalo that averaged 2 points a game to come here. You were getting Enoch Cheeks from the Horizon League. You weren't getting names that made you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and it all worked out. So there's no reason to lose your mind and get upset and say that this isn't a Dayton safe space. I don't look at anything as I'm a Browns fan. This isn't a Browns safe space. We're Buckeye fans. This isn't a Buckeye safe space. We're giving our opinions. Relax. And I'm curious, if we're saying something you disagree with, you're more than welcome to call 518-1410. Just don't talk in all capital letters. That's all I ask. But nonetheless, I don't think we said anything wrong. I had a little fun with the letter. You could be upset with me. Kev didn't do that. I had fun with the letter, but I'm poking fun at all athletes. Every athlete does it. Every athlete does one of those little, taking out a whole page in the newspaper type of little, thing. Whatever. I think it's cheesy, but I'm 34. I'm 21. I'm probably doing it too. I don't know. I'm a hypocrite, but it is what it is as far as that's concerned.
So he talked about Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers. He's not only the richest owner in the NBA, but he's the richest owner in the NBA by miles. $142 billion is his net worth. The second is Dan Gilbert. Shouts out to the Cavs. At $25 billion. Now, man, $25 billion. Love to have that. But I mean, when you're talking about $142 billion, he's lapping folks. I mean, Stan Kroenke, owner of the Nuggets, $17.6 billion. That's crazy. Mickey Arison, owner of the Miami Heat, and I believe he owns American Airlines as well, if I'm not mistaken, $12.8 billion. So, this dude has $142 billion. $142 billion.
Yeah, so he shouldn't be covering concessions for the final game of the regular season. He should be doing that all season long.
Well, he didn't get $142 billion doing that.
So Roger says, my apologies for yelling. Oh, apology accepted. We're good.
There it is.
Now, apparently, I might have misconstrued the yelling because someone says his nickname is All Cap Roger. So does that mean he's always lying? Huh? Is that what you're saying? Because according to Cap or No Cap, the rules are the rules.
Rules are the rules.
Cap means he's lying. So All Cap Roger is his name. Drew says Roger likes to get his point across. So, but to be fair, the all caps have got my attention. There's Indeed. A lot of comments coming in. I can't keep up with all of them. Someone complimented the fade. Someone asked who my barber was.
Oh.
Trevion Drake, what up? Shout out to Trevion out at Bourbon Barbers.
Getting you squared away.
Yeah. So, there's that. Nate says, I'd like to meet Roger one day. Roger says, you get it, Kenner. There we go. See? Made a new friend. Enemies to frenemies. I like it. I like it. But nonetheless. So, weird day on the old sports talk nonetheless. But we got some Reds coming up around the corner. The NBA play-in tournament tips off tonight. We have that coming up. What else? Yes, so I was off last Friday with the bad lettuce, the evil lettuce. Not the devil's lettuce, although that probably would have made the evil lettuce feel better, as far as that, with the old food poisoning over the weekend. But I think it was Friday when I was off, when we were off on the show Friday. You were off for your birthday. Yeah. Happy belated birthday again.
Thank you.
The Browns and Nick Chubb they rework their deal for him to stay in Cleveland. So that's what I want to talk about, and we're going to do that when we come back. It's Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We have that coming up around the corner. Plus, yesterday, we didn't get as far into it as I wanted to because we didn't really get to open up the phones for Bengals fans regarding thoughts on the Bengals' efforts this offseason through free agency, about how content are you. And as far as how aggressive the Bengals have been, I don't feel like they've been aggressive enough for a team that feels that, man, if only Joe Burrow was healthy, they would have been able to go to win the Super Bowl last year. I disagreed. I was like, as good as Joe Burrow is, you had Tyler Boyd, you had T. Higgins, you had Jamar Chase. We had the second worst defense and the second worst run game in the NFL last year. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I don't think they've done enough this offseason. I want to pick that up only because I came across a list today of all the top free agents remaining by position. Now, those names are going to probably sit there until after the draft. I think a lot of teams are sitting on their hands a little bit. They're going to go into this draft. They're going to plug some holes, reevaluate where they're at after the draft, see what kind of money they have, and maybe try and go a second wave of free agents again. But will that be the Bengals? So we'll talk about all that coming up. Hour number 2. It's Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Hour number 2, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Dayton's ESPN Radio. Dayton's radio home for Cincinnati Reds baseball. The Reds will be back in action coming up here in just a little bit. Later on tonight, of course. Reds, another game with the Mariners coming up here. 9:40 will be the first pitch, another late one. But tomorrow we will be off the air. You'll still have Off the Bench with Trace Fowler and the guys from 1 to 3. But we'll be off because the Reds are on at 4 with all the pregame coverage coming up an hour beforehand. So just keep that in mind. Then we'll be back on Thursday and Friday like we never left. So there you go. There you go. Last Friday, Kev. Actually, I do want to give Shaw a shout-out. Shaw, if you're listening, I think Shaw's roaming around in the comment section
Shawski.
somewhere. Where'd he go? He's here somewhere. He goes, gas is at $3.75 everywhere I've been. Man, he's everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man.
So if he's been everywhere, he probably hasn't saw the news about his cheating program.
Uh-oh.
His cheating Wolverines.
Uh-oh. NCAA.
For such a clean program, I mean, why do they have 3 years of probation and all this stuff now, man? Like, man.
A little slap on the wrist. That's how it starts.
Everyone else is doing it, I'm assuming. Man. Apparently the coach that should not be named is not being cooperative with the NCAA. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't either, though. I'll give Harbaugh that. I'm like, hey, ain't my problem anymore.
Yeah, I'm in the league,
Crybaby Moore, man. That's his problem now.
Peace out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that came out about Michigan, I'm not sure if this is true. There's a lot of rumors swirling about Will Johnson, the star cornerback from Michigan, hitting the transfer portal. Now, I haven't seen the official announcement from like On3 or anything like that, but like those are the rumors that he's hitting the portal. And my biggest thing about him is he's the best cornerback in college football. He should not be playing football this upcoming season. He has put enough tape out there for the league. He's the best corner in college football. And if he wants to transfer to a team that isn't playing for the national championship, what good is it going to do him? Like, an agent going to give him seed money. He's going to be a first-round pick, hands down. If I'm him and he doesn't want to play for University of Michigan, I wouldn't want to play football for anybody. Like, I'm good. I'll just train for the NFL Combine and the draft and be a first-round pick and live my life. Obviously, haven't seen that come out that he's actually hit the portal, but, like, that's the rumor. And, you know, he's being attached to Alabama and Oregon and other teams, like, with all this money. Nah, we're good. You don't need to play. You're good enough as is. And it's been proven that you don't have to play that additional year for teams to draft you. Like, everybody made a big deal when guys started skipping bowl games. Guess what? Christian McCaffrey's still winning the first round because Christian McCaffrey's very good at football. Everybody, oh, these guys are not going to play. They're opted out of the COVID year. Guess what? Jamar Chase
doing pretty damn good.
So, Will Johnson, if you truly don't want to play for Michigan, do not play for anybody else. This is time to be selfish and only look out for yourself and your draft prospects. You're going to be a first-round pick. Go ahead and just train for the NFL draft and combine. Do not play football if you're not going to be playing for Michigan.
If anything, that's a perk to some teams because guess what? That means it's a year. Your body's fresh.
Exactly.
You're not beat up. There's no, So as far as that's concerned, nonetheless. But all right, let's pick things up here now. We're number 2. So yesterday, I don't even know how we got on the Bengals topic. Oh, it was the T. Higgins conversation from over the weekend. T. Higgins at his youth camp shared that he believes he's going to play for the Bengals this upcoming season, despite the trade attempt or trade request. And then ESPN's Jeremy Fowler confirmed and doubled down, confirmed that the Bengals have doubled down, saying that regardless of the trade request, and regardless of whether he says he's going to play or not play, if he's not traded or not, we're not trading him. They're going all in for one more year to pursue a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And I respect that. I don't really have a problem with either side. The Bengals have every right in the world to say we're going all in for one more year, and we're doing it even without committing to T long term. They have the right to do that, and T has every right to be upset about it. But at the same time, the Bengals, for those out there that say, I can't believe they're not even trying to extend him. Why are they going to try to extend him when it doesn't make sense? It still doesn't make all the sense in the world. Like, it makes sense why you want Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase long term. Financial sense, you will never convince me that $80 million a year into 2 players, a wide receiver and a quarterback, will make a whole lot of sense at the expense of the defense and offensive line. We'll get to that later. But that will get done. I'm confident Jamar Chase will get taken care of. I just don't know what that's going to mean for the Bengals, who are already being a little bit, walking the line a little bit as far as not being aggressive in free agency. All I heard from Bengals fans was, oh, man, they have all this cap space. And you could look at, okay, they've spent money, but they haven't really they haven't been super aggressive, in my opinion. I don't I like the safety they got, as we talked about yesterday, but you lose DJ Reader and you get a guy that's pretty much the same player as DJ Reader to replace him with. Well, guess what? You had the second worst defense in the NFL last year with DJ Reader, so how did you improve? Hendrickson, the sack leader last year, whatever, one of the top sack leaders, you had him last year, second worst defense. Where have you improved? And they plan on doing that in the draft. That's a risk. It would not be as much of a risk to me coming off of the first 2 years of the Joe Burrow run, but they haven't hit in the draft the last 2 years. It has not been, I'm not as confident in their drafting ability after the last 2 years, even though they had those tremendous, that 2019 and the 2020 drafts were fantastic. That's what set up this run, but they haven't done a good job. I've said before, it's easy when you have the number one pick and you're winning 2 games and you're picking number 1 overall. When you win 4 games, you got a top 5 pick and you're picking early in the second round and all this stuff too. It's not as easy when you're getting to the Super Bowl, you're making the playoffs, and you're drafting further back, and you're having to develop and all this other stuff. The Bengals haven't killed it at that. That's not a hot take. It's just kind of the truth. And by the way, it's not a shot at them. That's hard. Yeah. That's hard for all teams. Like the Chiefs, I'm not saying they're making it look easy, but they've been fortunate that they've hit on some guys. But they are one guy. You know what I mean? Like if, Pacheco's not a top 5 running back in the NFL, but my gosh, if he's not even a top 15 running back in the NFL, they're not winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Like they've had to really count on guys that you normally aren't counting on. That's what the Bengals are going to have to rely on, especially because they're not being aggressive in free agency. They're going to regret that, though. In 2 years, they won't be able to be aggressive in free agency. You can now, and you're choosing not to. That's the problem I would have. I'm a Browns fan, okay? I'm here to tell you, I'm not hating on your team. I'm here to tell you, I've enjoyed the hell out of watching how aggressive this team has been in free agency. Now you could say, "Oh, what's that got them? What's that got them?" It's given them a chance. That's all you can ask for. And has what the Bengals done this offseason given them a chance? I don't think you could say that whole 100%. I can say that what the Browns have done the last 2 off seasons, it gives them a chance. Not being a homer, it gives them a chance. It's still the Browns. I completely get that. But hey, won 11 games last year. The Browns is the Browns. They find ways to lose games. Well, the Browns is not the Browns. They found ways to win games. 5 different quarterbacks. The best running back in the NFL goes out in week 2 because Kev Nash's dirty-ass Steeler team, right? Like, all this stuff. They found ways to win, and that's all that matters. So, I'm fine with being aggressive, and I think that the Bengals need to be more aggressive. I wanted to pick up with this conversation today because we couldn't finish it out yesterday.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the different side. A lot of our conversations ultimately end with me and you disagreeing. I just think there's better players in the draft than the guys that are currently available. I know you pulled up a list of available free agents, so I would love to hear some of the guys that are available out there. So I can probably go further from discussing it. If you go run down some guys that you think that they should go after.
Oh, it's not the guys I think that should go. We'll just go through. The tackles. So there's not a lot of great available tackles. And
right.
I get that. That's something that they're going to have to go after. But keep in mind, it's not just about free agency. It's also about trades, positioning yourself for a trade, as well, as far as that's concerned, too. But we have this list. We got to liven this up a bit, with a little music in the background. But hold on, I got to find. Okay, good. That won't kick us off YouTube. When stuff used to kick us off our YouTube, I'm like, that's fine. I got to be, a little respectful of the old Chatterbox YouTube. I haven't been told that this does that anyways. But, okay, so.
We're going to find out today.
We are going to find out today. So, again, there's a lot of free agents that are out there. Look, now, not all of these. This isn't all pertaining to the Bengals. So, when I bring up the quarterbacks, don't worry. You have a quarterback. You have 2 quarterbacks. You're good as far as quarterbacks are concerned. So these are the quarterbacks that are still available. This is a segment for all NFL fans. It doesn't matter who your team is. We started it talking about the Bengals as far as that. Drew asked a good question. It's kind of like what you're talking about too. What position that got paid huge money in free agency this year was a position of need for the Bengals? No huge right tackle. No huge nose tackle. You can't spend just to say you could spend. Look, second worst defense in the NFL. Second worst run game in the NFL. Derrick Henry went in your own division. Joe Mixon, not the biggest Joe Mixon guy, he ran for 1,000 yards. You still let him go, and you had the second worst run game in the NFL last year. That's I'm not down on the running back. Get that in the draft. We'll see what they do. I'll judge that after the running back thing is to be determined. I'll judge that after the draft. But we'll get there. But yeah, you keep bringing up nose tackle and other stuff, man. that wasn't their biggest issue last year. They didn't make the playoffs, not because Joe Burrow was out. It's because they sucked at defense and couldn't run the football, in my opinion.
A quarterback helps with the defense. If you have your quarterback converting third downs and putting your offense in a better position, then you're going to continue to move the ball down the field. That means your defense is on the field less. You have a backup quarterback that's going to not be as good as the starter. That's why he's the backup quarterback. So it's kind of like a give and take. Now, the running game, I got nothing for you there, Bengals fans. I got nothing. The run game was bad. You would get pop plays here from Joe Mixon in the run game, but overall, the run game was not consistent at all.
No, and I get that, but everyone says the Browns quarterback sucks, and their defense did pretty damn good. So I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Your quarterback stink, and your defense did pretty dang good. The Ravens their running back quarterback stinks. No, he's the MVP for the second time. Unanimous? No, he wasn't unanimous, was he? Because some guy had an axe to grind. That's right. I forgot who he picked either, too, but it doesn't matter.
Did you see the pictures of Lamar showing up?
See how jacked up?
No, he's skinny again. Like, remember last year he came in diesel? This year he's coming in like super skinny.
Well, because he had all that time. He was pouting last year, remember? Oh, I'm not paid. I'm just going to pout and work out. Now he's like being rich, and I don't know what he's doing that's getting him being skinny, though. I would need to find that out. Is that the key to being skinny, is being rich?
I'll find out.
You
Hopefully
can tell.
one day.
I'm poor as hell. So, no, fine. Let's go to those running backs real quick then. So we talk about the Bengals addressing their run game. Okay. I mean, there's a who's who of running backs that are still available right now. Does this lead to you having – and look, blocking scheme, too, has a lot to do. This isn't a go grab a running back to save your run game. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it as well. The irony in all of this is Joe Mixon's best seasons came when the Bengals had historically bad offensive lines. When their offensive lines were just complete, pure garbage, Joe Mixon was a top 5 running back in the NFL. Now that they have a serviceable offensive line, a pretty good offensive line, it's not impressive, but I mean it's they put $40 million into it. It better be solid. It was solid. It was much better, and they couldn't run the football last year. So a lot of it has to do with scheme as well. But J.K. Dobbins available. J.K. Dobbins goes to the Bengals. Your thought is what?
Absolutely not. I'm not touching J.K. Dobbins with a 10-foot pole. We look at the one season-ending injury he just had this past season, but he's had several others early in his career. I think you can pick up guys in the draft like a Jonathan Brooks from Texas, Trey Benson from Florida State, what's the kid from Wisconsin. Like, there's a ton of running backs that I will grab in the draft before I will grab any of these dudes that's available.
Now, people say don't pay running backs, but, I mean, you think J.K. Dobbins is going to cost you a lot? You think, Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt. There's a lot of names on this list that I think come in and make an immediate impact and be better than what they have right now.
Maybe a Dalvin Cook, depending on how much we got to pay him.
That was the weirdest drop-off I've ever seen for as young as he is.
Yeah.
And as dominant as he was for the Vikings, I thought the Jets were – I was like, oh, man, that's a freaking get right there.
Yeah.
I've never seen a drop-off in a running back so young in my life like that.
Yeah, like the carries weren't there to even see the production. So, like, wait, so what's going on in practice that you guys are seeing that he's not going to be there? Even like with Breece Hall, like, he was hurt the beginning of the season. So, like, Breece Hall came on midway through the season to take the majority of the snaps at running back. But what happened earlier? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers not being there affects a lot of things. But, like, Dalvin Cook was there early. So maybe I would take a flyer on Dalvin Cook. I wouldn't take a flyer on Zeke. Definitely not on J.K. Probably wouldn't take one on Cam Akers either. I would go running back in the draft.
Houston looked at Mixon. I thought, okay, maybe he's just getting washed up. Like, did the Bengals – fine, let me ask you, did the Bengals make a mistake just outright letting him go?
No. I think it's time to reset. Like, at some point, you have to reset everything that you guys got going on. We look at, like, the Patriots dynasty. I talked about this yesterday. I'm watching that on Apple TV Plus, and it's an amazing series. We look at the Belichick and Tom Brady. Like, those are the centerpieces – like, of the team. Like, they moved on from Lawyer Malloy. They moved on from a lot of guys year after year after year, and for lack of a better word, plugged and played with a lot of the other pieces around them. For the Cincinnati Bengals, the key figurehead here is the QB, Joe Burrow, and his number one weapon, Jamar Chase. A lot of these others on the team, and I don't want to, like, do them like they're nobodies, but, like, a lot of the other pieces around him and the team, like, they're going to come and go. Like, they're going to have to
that's the nature of the
football.
Quarterback.
When you got a good quarterback, he's going to get compensated. It's going to be his responsibility to play with the new guys that's on the team and make those guys better. Because, the funniest thing about watching that doc is the fact that I think everybody can agree that Randy Moss is one of the best wide receivers ever to play football. In my opinion, he's the second best wide receiver ever to play football. Didn't win a Super Bowl with him, but it won a whole bunch with Deion Branch. Like, nobody says that Deion Branch is better than Randy Moss. But they won Super Bowls together. So it's not always about the big splash name and the Hall of Fame guy that's going to get a gold jacket. It's about fit. Who's going to fit in this position and who's not going to cost me as much money? Deion Branch did not make as much money as Randy Moss.
No, I completely get that. But also can't say that you got to ignore, too big of a name, too big of a name. The Bengals, that's when you have no money to spend. You have money to spend. That's all these fans kept telling me. I have all this money to spend. We're rich. Like, they were like Dave Chappelle. Like, I'm just saying. That's all they kept saying. They're not acting like a team that had all this money. And now, so Shaw says you don't pay running backs. He said name a running back.
Well, those guys aren't going to get paid. They're not going to break the bank.
So he says name a running back that is justified being paid. I'll wait. So, Shaw, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you but the context is different here. When you talk about when you have a quarterback that's paid, giving a big-time extension to a running back. Like, you have Joe Burrow. Now, Derrick Henry, I brought him up. I don't really expect the Bengals to go get Derrick Henry. But, obviously he's with the Ravens. I'm just saying, but had they done that, I would have been like, all right, they're going all in. To me, going to get Derrick Henry showed, okay, we're going all in. The Ravens, to me, like, they're trying to go all in. They just suck at getting wide receivers. They're like that's their offensive line for the Bengals. Like, they just can't see, even though the Bengals have done a little better. But how they got better at that though? They had to put money into it. Mm-hmm. They finally had to. Orlando Brown, like, they had to go finally spend all this money to beef up that offensive line because they were trying to go the cheap route that you were talking about. Hey, we can't go get the big names. Well, eventually they caved and said, we got to go get these big names. We can't just sit back and just continue letting Burrow get sacked 70 times in the season, as far as that's concerned. But, so Shaw's point, you don't pay the running back. Well, you said name the last one that got paid and it was worth it. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb. Every single one of those, it was definitely worth it. But the thing that all those teams had in common, Christian McCaffrey at the time with the Panthers didn't have a quarterback, but he couldn't stay healthy. But the Niners, they have a quarterback on a rookie deal, worth it, right? Nick Chubb, the Browns, they had Baker Mayfield, and this whole fiasco with Deshaun Watson, although they've restructured deal, worth it. You keep going down that. Derrick Henry, you had Ryan Tannehill, worth it. So yeah, I know what you're saying, Shaw, but when you have a quarterback that's paid, no, it's not worth it at that point. You can't. You have to find other ways to, supplement that as far as that's concerned.
And the guys that are available for a reason. Like, they're not going to come in there and be like, hey, man, remember what I did at Ohio State back in 2015? I helped them win a national championship. Give me $25 million. No. You're going to get like $1 million, $2 million at most.
Shaw says, he agreed. He said, yeah, Kenner and Kev, you were right. My Michigan Wolverines are cheaters. I can't believe they cheated to win a national championship.
Screenshot that.
Man, I can't believe you said that, Shaw. He didn't say that. He said just because you have money doesn't mean you just spend it to spend it. Spending it to better your roster is not just spending it to spend it. The Bengals sucked at defense last year. Second worst defense in the NFL. What are they doing?
Okay, so
they couldn't run the freaking football.
So
what are we doing?
So tell me some of the defensive guys that are available,
right,
since that's like the hot button issue.
Let me reset this music to make sure. Oh, that was the NBA theme. I got Kev all excited right there for a second.
Tonight, baby. Tonight.
For a second, right there.
I don't think I'm gonna make it to the Golden State Kings game.
What time does that even tip off?
10:00. I might get to halftime. I gotta save up late nights for the actual playoffs.
So, all right. So, half these names. So some of these names that are left.
See?
No. These are the names that are left.
Oh, okay.
This isn't about the names that got taken off the board. The Bengals sat back and watched everyone else go get the good players while they had the second worst defense of the NFL last year, and everyone's doing this. Well, we'll just do it in the draft. That's great, but you're taking a huge chance. Like, they're sending mixed signals. We're going all in by bringing back T. Higgins, but we're not being aggressive in free agency. But you're past that point. Now, you're edge rushers, okay, at this point. You're talking about, Emmanuel Ogbah. Available. Yannick Ngakoue. That's a guy that 2 years ago was a bigger deal than what he is now. But again, I don't think he's going to be super expensive either. Carl Lawson. We've seen them go down that road before. I'm trying to see other names. Bud Dupree. Shaq Lawson. Shaq Lawson. He was with the Bucks, right?
Right.
So before he signed that, there was an article that came out last year before that really wanted to go. He wanted to be a Bengal. He wanted to go to Cincinnati. Didn't pull the trigger. That's how he ultimately ended up with the Bucks. An interesting one right there. But Yeah, let's see. Moving on. Defensive line, Calais Campbell.
That's the one.
Calais Campbell's still available.
That's the one. That's the one they should go after it because Calais can play tackle and he can play in. So he gives you versatility there. Obviously, he's a little long in the tooth, but guess what? You got a guy, he can play spot minutes. He doesn't have to, play, 50% of the snaps. You have him on specific packages and things of that nature. So that's the one for sure. If I was a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I would be going after it because he can play either in position. He can play either tackle. Well, he probably can't play the nose tackle position, but he can play a tackle and he can play either in position. So that's the one for sure.
And that one, too. And by the way, the Bengals, I don't want them to do anything between now and the draft. You do wait till after the draft, right? At this point,
depends on how much Calais is willing to come play for.
And he might be an outlier just because he still has a lot left in the tank and can help you right away. But I guess what I'm saying is at this point, I don't see a lot of free agent activity because I do think a lot of the teams have all just sat back and said, okay, we've done enough for right now. Let's see what we could fill free agent wise, and we'll go from there and reevaluate. As far as that's concerned. So okay. Edge rushers, we went through there. So best remaining defensive line free agents. We talked about Calais Campbell, Hassan Ridgeway, Lawrence Guy. None of these guys are moving the needle for me as far as that's concerned. But Calais Campbell right off the bat definitely gets your
100%.
attention. Linebackers, you have Shaq Leonard, Josh Woods, Deion Jones, Quan Alexander. Shaq Leonard's one I would take a flyer out on.
I'm good. Quan Alexander, I would take a flyer on him. He's a guy that he can play the walkout linebacker and he can do a little bit of safety work. He's a very good guy in coverage. I would do Quan Alexander. I would call him to see if he's available. Shaq Leonard, he's a middle linebacker with neck fusion situations going on. I'm not touching that.
Well, you don't want a bad neck?
Definitely not.
What? A little bad neck issue. A little bad neck ain't ever hurt nobody. So cornerbacks, and again, not all these names I'm saying the Bengals need to go get, but there's still meat on the bone. When you're the second worst defense in the NFL, even though you think depth isn't always a bad thing either. But Xavier Howard, Adoree Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson. That's a name that I think rings a bell with a lot of people. I think that's a depth piece right there. Still good enough to start.
Yeah, Pat P can play the slot corner, but they already have drawing a blank on his name. He used to play for the Steelers.
Hilton.
Yeah, they have Hilton for that, but also he can dabble at safety. Xavier Howard, that would tickle my fancy a little bit, depending on how much money he wants to get paid. I mean, he just got cut by the Dolphins. Also, Gilmore got cut by the Cowboys. One of those guys is definitely worth talking to.
Big names, safety.
Justin Simmons.
There's a crap ton of big name safeties.
Justin Simmons.
There. Yeah.
Justin Simmons, without a doubt. Hell no to Jamal Adams. Hell no to Quandre Diggs. Micah Hyde, maybe, but absolutely Justin Simmons. Absolutely.
There's
1,000,000%.
Terrell Edmonds, John Johnson, Ryan Neal, Rudy Ford. None of those names doing anything for him. But you're right. The Justin Simmons one at the top. Now they just went and got their safety. They got the guy from the Ravens.
But he can play both.
Yes.
He can play strong and free. And I would rather went after Justin Simmons than bringing Von Bell back. Now I get you bring Von Bell back. He's been in your system. He's under Coach Aramanu and all that type of stuff. So he's familiar with the system. But overall, as a football player, Justin Simmons is better. Now, obviously, Justin Simmons has been an all-pro, so he's like, hey, well, I'm an all-pro. I want to get paid like an all-pro. So that could be a situation right there. But Justin Simmons is going to be playing football for somebody this upcoming season. Why not it be your favorite team?
518-1410, 518-1410. The phone lines are open as far as that's concerned. We'll get into the Browns and Nick Chubb in a moment. NBA playoffs, or not the playoffs, sorry, the play-in. That tips off tonight. Not the playoffs, the play-in. So there's that.
Greeny had some hot takes this morning.
Everyone's ripping him for that. I get what he's saying. Obviously, you don't. I mean, if you're the light, you want to go on a playoff run or you want to be one and done?
LeBron James would never.
Would never what?
Would never throw a basketball game.
No one's going to throw, but if you ask him, would you prefer to play? You're going to play the nerd team. We're going to play all the games this season. We're not going to sit out. We're going to play hard every night.
LeBron James would never. LeBron James would never. Lakers are going to smoke the Pelicans, and they're going to lose in 5 games to the Nuggets.
And then Greeny will be right. We'll be right back. 14-10.
Brian would never do that. There's no way. Absolutely not. There's no way.
And we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Brian Hetzel on Facebook, he messages into the show. He says, all the Bengals need is a nose tackle and corner depth. That's all they need, he says. I mean, I disagree, but, I mean, they need that. But when you say all they need is that to get you to where? So if you're just joining us back, Kinner and Cap, 1410 ESPN Radio, talking about the Bengals' needs last segment. Brian Hetzel messages into the show. All the Bengals need is a nose tackle and corner depth. And then that gets them where? Is that defense better than the Steelers? I don't think it is. If they get a nose tackle, are they better than the Steelers?
No. The Steelers' defense has not been as good as it usually is, but what they have done remaining is cause turnovers. Like last year, you could drive the ball on the Steelers, especially down the middle of the field with bad middle linebacker play. But what the Steelers were able to do is cause turnovers and get, that dude.
Especially in the red zone.
Yeah. So, you can get yards, but they 9 times out of 10, they normally stop people or get a turnover on critical downs. So, that's kind of like how the new era of football is played. Like, you're not about to get the 2000 Baltimore Ravens where teams are just, man, we just can't move the ball. Like, teams going to move the ball. Like, that's what's going to happen. Can you stop them from getting in the end zone? Can you make them settle for a field goal? Can you get a turnover? Can you get a sack to knock them out of field goal range? I mean, teams are going for it on 4th and 4. Like, we were all shocked when teams started going for it on 4th and 1. Now teams are going for it on 4th and 5. Like, hey, man, we're
in their territory.
In
their own territory.
So, can you get that stop on 4th down to stop them? So the yards will tell you one thing. What does the points tell you? What does the points per game tell you? Are the Bengals going to be able to do that? There's going to be a lot of pressure put on Stone to make those plays out there for them, to make those splash plays for them. So, yeah, man.
So, again, Brian says all they need is a nose tackle. Well, they get that nose tackle. Their defense isn't better than Pittsburgh's. It's not better than the best defense in the NFL, which is Cleveland's, and you can say, okay, they're not the best defense. Okay, so they're not better than the top 3 The Browns have a top 3 defense in the NFL. Top 3 defense in the NFL. So the Bengals defense, if all you get is a nose tackle, you're not better than them. You're not better than the Steelers. The Ravens took a hit this offseason, but are you willing to say that the Bengals with the nose tackle have a better defense than the Baltimore Ravens?
No, just based off of reputation. Based off of reputation, I mean, we talk about Geno Stone signing with the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, the Ravens were able to draft him in the 7th round and turn him into an all-pro player that's able to cash out and break the bank. So, their track record of ability to find players and develop said players is, to me, perfectly clear. I think it's unmatched. They find, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they find guys, develop guys, and then basically let a lot of guys walk because they believe that they can find another guy to replace that guy. So, no, I'm going to just go off of the track record of what they've done in decades past, be able to find some guy we've never heard of from some backyard state university. And, hey, man, look at this dude. Hey, Geno Stone. Who heard of Geno Stone? I sure ain't heard of no dango Geno Stone before in my life.
Yeah. And so with that, that's what I meant earlier. Is we could sit there and say, well, all they need is this. A team that was the 2nd worst defense in the NFL last year isn't a safety and a nose tackle away from going from the 2nd worst to, it doesn't even make you, you're still the worst defense in your own division. So I don't know. I'm not being critical. I am being critical. I'm not being a hater here. I'm trying to understand. This is the battle I have all the time. And it's oh, Kinner's just a hater. We'll chalk it up to that. No. I want to know what you guys mean by that. Just explain. I'm advocating for your team to be more aggressive. I don't get how I'm holding your team to a higher standard than you guys are. That's all. You're making moves just to that way we're not the 2nd worst defense in the NFL. Well, you should be striving to be the best defense in your division and in the AFC, all that type of stuff. So, let's see. Shaw says, and what did talk about the Browns and what did that top 3 defense get you? Okay. What do you mean, what did it get? So the Browns should just blow it up, Shaw, with that logic? Oh, I didn't win a Super Bowl, blow it up. I'd much rather be the Browns that had a top 3 defense that didn't go well in the playoffs, but hey, every year you're going to have a chance to be good because you have that defense. So I don't know what that point is. Should we ask him? Should we ask him what his point is?
He can always call.
He's on hold. Shaw, what does that even
That means they don't need to be a top 3 defense to go anywhere in the playoffs. That's what it means. Your top three defense got you 1 and out in the playoffs. That's what it means.
Sometimes they got 1 and out. Like, yes, you had a bad day in the playoffs, yes. But you think all of a sudden that everyone's like, see, that's proof right there. You don't need a top defense because they lost.
Weren't you the same guy just 2 years ago saying you didn't need a top 15 defense to win in the NFL?
That was 2 years ago before the defense started like coming back into the NFL. 2 years ago, everything was a shootout. That's not the case right now.
Everything still is a shootout.
Everything is not a shootout. Look at the back-to-back Super Bowl winning champions. That's one of the worst. I mean, that's one of the most boring basic offenses in the NFL. No, it's not. It's led by what? A top defense in the NFL.
It's led by a top quarterback and
a top quarterback and a top tight end and a team that has the wide receivers that lead the NFL in drop catches, one of the worst wide receiving corps in football. It's the defense. That the back-to-back Super Bowl champions have won because of defense.
So some of the current guys, well, not current, but this is Walter Camp saying the best defensive tackles available in the draft. Byron Murphy from Texas at 1, Chris Jenkins from Michigan at 2, Johnny Newton from Illinois, Darius Robinson, he can play inside and outside from Mizzou. Michael Hall Jr. from the Buckeyes at 5. So those are a list of guys out there that the Bengals can grab, but I mean, the only one I think for sure is going in the first round, at least from what I saw, was the Murphy kid from Texas. And everything that we see with the Cincinnati Bengals sounds like they're taking somebody on the offensive side of the ball.
We're trying to get them to sign all of these expensive free agents, and that's just never how the organization is ran. They've never ran it that way.
I agree. I think there's potentially better talent in the draft than signing a lot of the guys that are still available outside of like a Simmons and Calais Campbell. Like those are guys that I would take a flyer on if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. But like as far as like the running back and the D tackles and stuff like that, I'm going to the draft. Or like Kenner was talking about, maybe even making some moves in the draft to like, hey, well, let's double dip in the second round or something like that. Let's give up some back in draft picks or next year's draft picks so you can get double guys in the second round. I mean, I say this till I'm blue in the face. You draft first, second, and third round. Those are guys that you expect to be starters on your football team. I know we get super enamored from, the first round. In the first round, the splash guys and the names we've heard on the college football game day for years and years, but like the second round guys and the third round guys are going to be starters for teams too. So I definitely agree with Kenner there with, hey man, like let's make some moves in the draft to double dip here. Like, hey man, like if we got 2 second round picks, those are 2 starters, and let's go with defense. Like let's get a defensive tackle, let's get another quarterback in the second round. So I mean, you look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers did last year. They were able to flip Chase Claypool into Joey Porter Jr., who was taken at the top of the second round. He was the first pick of the second round. I mean, and now they pay him a second round price as opposed to the first round price where he's projected to go. So you basically got a first round pick for Chase Claypool.
Right. I agree with you. I'll agree with Kenner if at the end of the season, because I think what the Bengals are doing is they're banking on their second and third year guys to step up this season, not get hurt for one, and step up and actually be legit on the defensive side of the ball. If that happens and Burrow stays healthy, I know, stay healthy. But, I mean, if that all does happen, I think the Bengals could be legit. The problem is that's a lot of ifs. I get all that. But we are loaded in the defensive tackle position in the draft, loaded at secondary in the draft. I think that's what they're banking that's what I think they're banking their entire offseason on. So, but to sit there and crash them right now because they didn't go spend a whole heck of a lot of money on some free agents that wanted to break the bank, well, sorry, Kenner, but you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say the Bengals can't.
Why are you yelling?
I'm not yelling. I'm talking.
You were talking to start, then you started yelling. You're like, I'm sorry, Kenner, and then you started yelling.
I'm driving, and I'm also doing a bunch of other things at the same. I mean,
road rage, dude.
Yelling.
Calm down.
Talking.
Road rage. Relax.
There was no road rage. Just talking. Okay, sure. But anyhow, back to my point. You want them to. They can't spend a ton of money because Burrow is on Burrow just signed a $55 million contract. So they can't sign a bunch of people on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, I was told by Bengals fans that doesn't impact them until 2 years from now. So I'm operating by their rules.
I'm not a Bengals fan. I'm talking to you as a football fan. I'm not a Bengals fan.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn me into one because you're like
why not? You have a tendency to follow bad teams. You might as well. I mean, you follow the cheating Wolverines.
National championship teams are just so
probation
bad.
for the next 3 years.
National championship, hang the banner. I don't care about 3 years.
Hang it up so they could take it down, my friend.
Yeah, sure. Anyhow, back
Shouts
to the
out to the
NFL
Fab
that
Five.
we were talking about. Yeah, well, that's true. That's a valid point. They didn't win a national championship, though. That isn't. I mean, in Michigan's defense on that one, all they did was go to the Final Four. You want the Bengals to do like everything all at the same time to kind of make you happy. Well, no organizations ran that way. Like, you can't sit there and spend $55 million on your quarterback and then just go drop $155 million on your defense on a bunch of people that probably don't even defensively fit your scheme and just think that's going to work. Like the Calais Campbell thing, he's a 3-4 defensive end. That doesn't fit with a 4-3 D end. So I get your point, Kev, but I don't see that one being a structural fit in the defense. Now, the Simmons one, I'd have signed him yesterday. That's if he wants to come. But
Well, Calais has played multiple positions. I mean, especially like for the Ravens, he did play on like the 3-4 side, but like he can play in and out on that defense. I know you like that defense with the 4-3, like you want, like, for lack of a better word, more hefty guys at the DT spot. But like Calais Campbell, like, I'm not asking him to play 60 snaps a game. I'm like, hey man, go out there and give me 20, 25 snaps a game. Like he can still do that.
But if you're on the 3-4, if you're in the 3-4 scheme and you try to put a defensive end at a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme, that those two don't mix.
But isn't that the same thing like they did with that Rushman package with the Bengals when they kicked Hubbard on the inside? Like he rushed from the inside from when they played the Chiefs when they went to the Super Bowl.
Being a defensive end and moving to defensive tackle is not the same as a defensive tackle moving to defensive end.
But tomato, cool.
Most of your DNs in a 3-4 are an outside linebacker in a 4-3.
Right.
So,
but that's not. I don't even think the D line is the Bengals' biggest problem. It's the secondary. So that's why I say, throw everything at the Simmons and go after these draft picks, and you can get defensive tackles in the draft. There's plenty of secondary in the draft to go get. Go get a defensive tackle and a secondary guy in the second round, and waste 2 seconds on a defensive tackle and a secondary guy. And then let's see how it plays out. And then if it doesn't work and they didn't spend any money, obviously in free agency, Kenner, I'll be right there with you.
But Shaw,
and beating the crap out of the Bengals.
But Shaw, the thing is, you went all in, 21 point something $million guaranteed to T. Higgins, signifying that you're going all in for this season. You can't go all in for a season and then chalk it all up to, well, we just hope. We hope these second-year, third-year guys develop. We hope that we get someone in the draft. We hope. That's a lot. That's not a game plan. That's being cheap. Like, and they had a lot of money. Hold on. They had a lot of money coming into this offseason. Joe Burrow being paid this past offseason the way it was structured, doesn't impact them this offseason. If it did, then T. Higgins would not have been a priority to even bring back on the franchise tag. The point is they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Now, we brought up Calais Campbell and others because those are the free agents that are remaining. I'm being critical because I thought for a team that was their Super Bowl window is shrinking. I don't care what Joe Burrow says. Hey, I'm here. The window's open. It's not. It's not because the window's only open as long as there's financial flexibility with the roster and as long as you could draft real well. Well, in the 4 years that Burrow has been here, they've had 2 really good drafts and 2 very bad drafts. So I'm not going to, they're chalking it all up to hope. And I don't think hope is not a game plan. Like I said, it's just not a game plan. They had a lot of money. There was a lot of really good free agents. They could have gone after a lot of guys, and they chose not to. And that's the problem I have. So right now, if you want to talk about, well, you don't spend money on that guy, well, now you have to spend money on that guy because you waited too long to spend your money on the guys that were available that would have been more bang for your buck as far as that's concerned. So I know what you are saying. I get, like earlier, talk about the running backs. You don't pay running backs. There's certain positions you don't pay, but when your window is shrinking and you need to make sure you get somebody to make an impact now, you can't afford to say, well, hopefully we draft someone that makes an impact. You are going to have that financial flexibility moving forward. You had $70 million cap space heading into this offseason. Does this look like a roster that benefited from $70 million cap space available? It does not, and that's not me hating.
No, but you're forgetting the one key point in the entire thing, and the one key point that most Bengal fans forget. You're running this organization to be ran like an organization that knows what they're doing. That's not this organization. It never has been, and it never will be. So you go spend your 55 in Burrow, and you go spend your 25 plus on Higgins and everything else like that. Plus, they know they got to save money for Chase and all the other guys that they want to pay their money to. No, they're not going to go spend money on defense like a Houston Texans or any other organization that wants to be legit in the NFL. That's not the Cincinnati Bengals. So as a Cincinnati Bengals person who pays attention a little bit to them and sits there, you have to understand what you're dealing with. You have to understand that this is an organization that's going to go try to get as many good young players that they can in the draft. They're not going to overspend in free agency. And what they are going to do in free agency is they're going to try to get a guy kind of like now. They've waited long enough. The first deals are done in free agency. The second deals are done in free agency.
The second wave, third and fourth wave.
These are the guys that are wanting to get signed going into. These are the guys that are wanting to get signed going into camp or just out of camp. That's what the Bengals do. They do it every offseason. Some off seasons it works, a.k.a. Super Bowl run. Other off seasons it doesn't work, like last year. Then you top it with injuries and everything like that. I agree with you, Justin, that they don't build a roster on a – I will agree with you till the cows come home on that. But where I disagree with you is the fact that you want to take their offseason this year after last season's draft and say it was an draft. Well, we don't know.
We do. It's the NFL. We know right away how good these draft classes are. This isn't like 10, 15 years ago where you got to wait 2 or 3 years. We see guys get drafted right away and make an impact right away. Hell, that's how they got to the Super Bowl after 2 years after winning 2 games. I didn't hang up on him. I hung up on it there because he's cutting out. But I know what he's saying. But at the same time, this isn't baseball.
You hung up on him.
That last one I did.
I'm joking. I know he's cutting out bad.
But I know what he's saying. But like also, the NFL's changed. These guys coming into the league, they're not finished products, but they're coming into the league ready to contribute. And we saw right away what Logan Wilson could do. We saw right away what T and Jamar and Joe Burrow can do. We saw right away, And
that's my point about going through the draft. Like no offense to the older guys, but like I can get a younger guy that has more years ahead of him than you do. And I don't have to pay either one of you guys a lot of money. So I'd rather go get the new car without a lot of miles on it as opposed to the guys that got a lot of miles on them as well. So like that's my preference to go through the draft.
Katie runs this better than her dad ever has. Well, I've said this before. I'm 5'7". If I show up to work tomorrow and I'm 5'9", I'm still short.
I would notice.
I'm still short. I'm 5'7". If I show up to work tomorrow and I'm 5'9", I'm still short. I may be taller than I was yesterday, but I'm still short. So she may be running it better than Mike Brown ever did, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean make you tall. So I don't know. Look, right now, Joe Burrow has healed a lot of wounds from the PTSD of how poorly that organization has been ran for a while. But now we're about to find out if the Bengals are for real for how they manage this roster and this team moving forward. Roster doesn't look so sexy, but all that matters is how they produce on the field. And that's when usually Kinner always gets proven wrong when it comes to these debates. But right now, I feel pretty confident. So we'll see. As a Browns fan, I feel pretty confident. As far as that's concerned. So we'll see, as we always say. Michael Carnage on the Chatterbox YouTube says, is today Yell at Kinner Day? Did I miss the memo? No, it's just called NFL Talk. That's usually where this goes. Slick 1981 says Cleveland and Pittsburgh hope they have a quarterback. I can't read this because the stupid little thing keeps getting in the way every time on the little comment section. Not yelling at Slick Rick over here, whatever his name is.
Slick Rick the ruler.
But yeah, this, see what I mean? Like this, like little emoji thing just blocks it, and I can't read a damn thing that it says. This right here. See, I'm like 80.
Oh.
I need to call my grandma to help me use this computer. I don't know what I'm doing. So the heart gets in the way. Yeah, see? There. Okay. Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Hope they have a quarterback. Look, for Cleveland, it's just about hoping that he's healthy. I mean, 5-1 when he was out there? We saw what he did in the second half against the Ravens. Dominated the Ravens. Beat the Ravens, hit the Ravens. The only thing that Bengals fans are hoping is that Deshaun remains injury prone. That's the only thing you guys are hoping. I ain't hoping that he's a good. I know he's a good quarterback. I'm just hoping he stays healthy. Just like you're hoping he stays injured because, well, the Browns own the Bengals. I mean, that's just really what it comes down to. Shots fired. I like it. Pew, pew, pew. We'll be right back. NBA play-in games tonight. Not the playoffs.
Play in.
Play in. We'll
Play
be right
in.
back. We are back, Kenner and Kev, live 1410 ESPN Radio and on Chatterbox Sports. Kev, I think I killed your camera.
Camera hog.
And I think the guys at Chatterbox are about to kill me, too, because they're supposed to be off at 5. It's 5:02. We're just starting this part of the show. The clock management, they have killed it. Shout out to Trace. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Casey. They have killed it with the clock management. I need to go learn from them.
And you're the radio professional.
I mean, they have killed
Allegedly.
it. I'm not a professional, but so no. Yeah, see, like right now you're just frozen. Luckily, that's a good place to freeze.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it could
My
have been
waves.
worse.
Go back. Tell them go back. Go back to that. I want to see my waves.
Yeah, you can go back.
I
You can go
wanna see
back,
my- I wanna
Casey.
see
It's
my
okay.
waves. Please.
Or Ellie, I don't know who's. By the way, you know they do. There we go.
Look at them waves.
There we go.
We buttery out here.
So, Brad said sending some space so Kenner can read the comments. Thank you. That's what good friends do right there. We can keep it there. We could keep looking at the waves.
Ooh,
you know?
that boy buttery.
But Casey, just give us a few more minutes. I promise you can go home. I'm causing Trace to pay them overtime. So Casey shouldn't be mad at me. I'm only helping them, you know. The clock management, but Casey, Elliot, and Trace, I'm the worst at the clock management thing. That's why I was laughing so hard when we were talking about partnering up to do this stuff. They were so stressed about the clock, and I'm like, you know, the clock is like the salary cap in Kenner's world. It doesn't exist,
It's flexible.
but it does. And Debbie's off this week. Today's her birthday.
yes, she's
so
on
happy
vacation.
birthday to the best traffic director in all of radio. Debbie
All
is
of
the
media.
absolute best. There's no one even close. I am only alive and
And that's a
breathing
factual
because of her.
statement, too. That's a factual statement. She's won awards.
I am only alive and breathing because of her.
Yes.
And that's because she hasn't killed me. Because I'm so poor at the clock management as far as that's concerned. So, nonetheless. But, no, we were talking a little The Walking Dead during the... So I am, always late to the, when Breaking Bad was going strong, I wasn't into it. Then I became obsessed with it. Called off days of work, pretended to be sick because I just binge watched the hell out of it. And that is officially where I am at. I am risking my marriage. Oh, my gosh. Because Netflix has, you have the profiles, right?
Yeah.
My wife will divorce me if she checks my profile on Netflix and realizes, because we started The Walking Dead, everyone kept saying, you got to watch. I'm on to season 5. We're still on season 3.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How are you watching that much TV and you guys live together?
Headphones.
Oh.
Headphones. Bathroom breaks. Headphones.
Everything coming out okay?
Yeah, be right out. Hello? I'm obsessed. Coral! Lori! Obsessed with that show.
Rick Grimes.
It's a damn good show. Everyone keeps saying, it's going to get bad after season 2, season 3. I'm just as obsessed. I just started season 5.
Buckle up.
They're in the train. They're in the cargo thing.
Terminus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Terminus. Horrible place, by the way. But that show really makes you think, what happens? What do you do? What happens?
I mean,
I think there's walkers everywhere now. And not just in East Dayton. Everywhere you go. I'm just saying. I don't trust anybody now. Anyways.
you shouldn't.
NBA play-in tournament tips off tonight. Years ago, LeBron said whoever came up with the play-in tournament should be fired. Draymond Green said he agreed with LeBron at the time, but now he loves it, and it's kind of funny that the two old heads who disagreed with it years ago, now that they're just fighting to keep their teams even in the playoff conversation, are both playing in it. LeBron and the Lakers, after getting to the Western Conference Finals last year, where they ultimately got swept by the Denver Nuggets, and Denver goes on to win the NBA championship, of course, with Jokic. The Lakers back in the play-in tournament tonight. They're taking on the Pelicans, and then after that, you got the Warriors and the Kings. The play-in tournament, look, the concept of the in-season tournament, the concept of this, I hate the concepts of it all. I'm going to tune in tonight. These will be 2 very good games. I like it. I don't understand what this has accomplished other than, people will tune in for this. I completely get that, and I guess that's the point. But, man, I don't know what this does for the NBA. It's 2 good matchups. I mean, Warriors, Kings. The Kings were a team that everyone thought would be in the Western Conference Finals this year, but they're fighting to get into the playoffs. I don't get this. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the depth of the West. I mean, you have the 10 seed, the Kings, at 46 wins. Last year, 46 wins would have had you at the 6th spot in the West. So, that just speaks about how good the conference is. And Draymond should be loving the play-in tournament. He's part of the reason why they're in the play-in tournament for constantly being suspended this year. And if there wasn't a play-in tournament, they will already be out of the playoffs. So they will be on the outside looking in. And, in the Lakers situation, they would already have that 7 seed locked down. I'm going to disagree with you. I think there'll be a great game between the Warriors and the Kings, and I believe that the first game, the 7:30 game, is not going to be a great game. I think the Lakers win comfortably. I don't think they blow the Pelicans out like they did before, but I think they win comfortably.
Zion, I mean, he's not taking the league over by storm like everyone thought that he would, even though he's playing well.
Yeah.
But, LeBron leaves. Is it Jokic? Who's the face of this NBA right now post LeBron?
There isn't one, because I don't think that Jokic cares to be. Like, to be the face of the NBA, you have to want to be the face of the NBA as well.
He was pissed in the press conference after the title last year. Remember that? He was like, oh, I just want to go home.
I want to go home, crack some Bud Lights, and chill out with the kids and stuff like that. So he's not going to be the face of the league. Jason Tatum does not have – I don't think he necessarily has the personality to be the face of the league. So you have to have that outgoing personality and that it factor along with the game to match. So there's a lot of guys with game. Obviously, Jokic, crazy game. I mean, but does he have the star power, the oomph to match that? I don't think so.
Wembanyama?
Wemby, I've heard Wemby speak 2 times. That was on when he got drafted and during the All-Star weekend for the skills competition. So I haven't heard Wemby speak, so I have no idea. A guy like that has the star power, that has the potential to do it, would be a Ja, but obviously him coming off the situations last year with the whole guns
to do it.
Oh gosh, and then him getting hurt. I mean, he came back with a bang. I didn't even mean to say that.
I love it. I love it.
I did not.
That was awesome.
Come out that way.
That was awesome. Do you have any more in the chamber?
Oh gosh, when he came back, he was balling out of control, and then he got hurt for the season. So the NBA is gonna have to find like the next quote unquote face. But I think the game is in a good spot. I mean, they got highly entertaining games. I mean, it's playing. We got the Lakers and Pelicans tonight, Warriors, Kings, and then you got the Heat, Philly tomorrow, and then the Hawks and Bulls to close the things out. And then we get the real playoffs starting on Saturday.
So this would be the equivalent to the wild card in other sports. But the wild card is still considered the playoffs in other sports. These are not considered the playoffs.
Yeah, you're not in yet. You're not in. You're in, but you're not in. It's like kind of like in the club. And like like that little part before you pay, before you actually open the doors to the club to get in. That's where these teams are.
Why are you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in.
Can't even get in. There's people in line, and those people are getting ready for the NBA draft. People in the little middle section waiting to pay their admission to get into the club. That's where the Heat, Philly, Hawks, Bulls, Lakers, Pelicans, Kings, and Warriors are. While everybody else is inside the club getting ready to turn up a little bit at the bar, getting loose.
So you talked about we snuck in that little conversation about the face of the NBA, post LeBron, but the WNBA has a new face, Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
It was 300-something thousand people that watched the WNBA draft 2 years ago. There was 500-something thousand or 400-something thousand that watched the draft last year. What do you think the number was of people who watched the draft last night for the WNBA? And I thought that we go to ESPN.com yesterday. I'm like, I think the draft's tonight. And there was nothing on ESPN's website yesterday about the WNBA draft. It was not promoted very, very well at all. They did a horrible job trying to capitalize off of the how hot everything was coming out of the women's tournament, but it didn't matter. What do you think the number was? Stupid number. It's a stupid number.
$1 million?
$2 million. 2.4 million viewers for the WNBA draft on ESPN from 7:30 to 9:30 last night.
I was about to say to watch people walk across the stage and shake a hand, but we do that for the NFL draft. So, why wouldn't we do it with the WNBA draft? I mean, it's a growing sport. I mean, you look at some of the talent that's coming into the league. Obviously, Caitlin Clark. You could talk about Camila Cardozo from the Champs. You can talk about Angel Reese. Like, there's a whole bunch of players that's coming in this league. And, a lot of the cool thing about the WNBA, which is also kind of hurtful for the WNBA, there's not a lot of teams. I think there's like 12 teams in the league. So you're getting the best players. Like, there's first-round picks that get cut in the WNBA because, hey, man, there's just not enough room.
15 players in the first round got cut last year. How the hell is that?
Yeah, because there's only X amount of teams, so there's only a certain amount of spots available. And you look at a player from Syracuse. Her name is skipping me right now, but she's the third all-time leading scorer in college basketball. She was a second-round pick. She went to, I believe, she went to the Aces. Like she might not make the roster, and she's third all-time in scoring in NCAA history. Like, that's how deep this league is, and that's what you get when you have a small number of teams. I know they're talking about expanding the league, getting a team like in the Bay Area. There's been talk about them getting
South
one
Florida.
in South Florida, Philly, and Charlotte, and places like that. I think the Carolinas would be a great place for another WNBA team. You know, the folks out there in North Carolina love them some basketball. I think that would be a great spot for that.
But yeah, 2.4 million people.
That's crazy.
That's a wild number.
And they came dressed to impress.
So Ken and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We got to get Casey out of here. We go to radio only now.
Radio?
Chatterbox gave us an extra 13 minutes of overtime. I did not get that approved by Trace. Casey, I'm sorry. Elliot, if you're there, I'm sorry. Whoever's there, I'm sorry. We got to go. At least on the Chatterbox side. We are not on. No show tomorrow. Off the bench with Trace Fowler, Elliot, and Casey, and the guys. They'll be on tomorrow from 1 to 3. But we will not be on due to the Reds game, and then we will be back at it on Thursday and Friday. So there's that. But thank you, guys. Michael Carnage says, bye, guys. Good show today. Thank you.
Gracias.
Appreciate it. Slick Rick and everyone. Even I made a new friend.
The ruler.
Yeah, so what is that? Keith Tolliver messaging says, Kev with the Rick the Ruler comment, knowing Justin has zero clue.
You don't know who Slick Rick is.
No. I only know Rick from The Walking Dead. Carl!
Slick
Lori!
Rick is a rapper from the 80s and potentially the best storyteller rapper of all time. Go ahead. You heard a song, A Children's Story, before.
I've heard a children's story before.
Goodness. Never mind.
We'll be right back. Kenner and Cav, 1410 ESPN Radio.